The night was quiet, but inside that huge penthouse, my heart was loud. I stood near the glass wall, staring at the city lights below me. Cars moved like tiny sparks. Buildings glowed like fire. Everything looked calm, but I was not calm at all. My hands were shaking, my breath felt thin, and my chest hurt in a way I had never felt before. I had just come from his bedroom. My shirt was wrinkled, the collar slightly open, and my hair was not the way I had walked in. It was small proof of a moment I could not take back. Nothing wild, nothing dirty. Still, it was enough to change my whole life. Enough to change his life too. On the table in front of me were the papers. White sheets, clean ink, perfect signatures. His signatures. The papers that would soon give me everything he owned. His power, his control, his future. With one pen stroke, he had placed his whole life in my hands. And now I stood there staring at the proof of what I had done, and what I was about to become. I whispered to myself, but the words sounded like someone else's voice. I never wanted to be a thief. I only wanted a better life. My throat tightened as I swallowed the truth that tasted bitter in my mouth. I had not chosen this path because I was strong. I chose it because I was tired. Tired of being poor, tired of begging, tired of being invisible. Still, that didn't make me feel clean. I looked at the papers again, almost hoping they would disappear. They didn't. They stayed there, silent and heavy, like pieces of my guilt spread across the table. But to escape being poor, I used his lonely heart. I said it quietly, almost afraid of hearing myself admit it out loud. Behind my eyes, a memory flashed. So soft, but so sharp it cut through me. Marcus's smile. His warm, hopeful smile. The smile that used to light up our tiny room even when the rest of our life felt dark. The smile that made me believe we could one day have something better. I closed my eyes and saw him again. Marcus laughing, touching my arm, telling me we would rise together. I remembered the nights we planned our future, the house, the car, the peace. He told me I deserved more. He told me we needed more. And I believed him because believing him was easier than believing the world would ever be fair. I opened my eyes and looked at the city again. The lights did not care about right or wrong. They only shined. My heart beat hard, slow, heavy. I knew this night was not just another night. It was the edge of a cliff. Once I stepped forward, I could never step back. Everything was about to change. And before I let the future swallow me whole, I needed to tell the truth. Every piece of it. Every lie. Every choice. This night was the end of something, and the beginning of everything else. My name is Liam, and for most of my life, people looked at me and saw something simple. A beautiful guy with a bright smile. They said I had perfect hair, soft eyes, and a face that always looked calm. They thought I had everything easy because of the way I looked. But every compliment felt like a small joke whispered behind my back. Because the truth was very different. I was 26, broke, and one step away from drowning in bills. My life did not match my face. My background was small, poor, and heavy. I grew up in a neighborhood where people worked until their hands cracked and still came home with empty pockets. My parents had no money to help me, no connections, no way to lift me higher. So I learned early that if I wanted anything, I had to fight harder than everyone else. I worked at a large company in the city. Nothing fancy, just a place with bright hallways and cold faces. My job looked simple on paper. Assistant, organizing files, taking calls, making schedules. But in truth, it was never-ending work. Long hours, tiny pay, and no real growth. I woke up before sunrise and came back after dark. My body was tired, but my dreams were even more tired. My room showed the life I was trying to escape. A small space, one window that barely opened, and walls that held more silence than comfort. My bed creaked when I sat on it. My closet had only cheap shirts, old jeans, and worn shoes that made my feet ache. Sometimes I would stand in front of the mirror and wonder how a beautiful guy could feel so invisible. People said I had a bright future because I was attractive. But beauty never paid rent. Beauty never bought food. Beauty never fixed the fear inside me. The fear that I would always be stuck in the same place, running in circles, growing older but never growing better. Every day at work, I tried to prove myself. I did extra tasks, stayed longer, arrived earlier. I prepared reports no one asked for, smiled when I was exhausted, and said, yes, even when I wanted to cry. I wanted my boss to see me, not just my face, but my effort, my hunger, my need to rise. But he never looked deeper. To him, I was just another worker, replaceable, nothing special. Sometimes, when I walked past his office door and saw him typing on his laptop without even noticing me, I felt a small cut inside my chest. I was giving everything but getting nothing, and nothing hurts more than being unseen. At home, the only place where I felt understood was with Marcus. He was my boyfriend for almost 3 years. Marcus had kind eyes and a warm voice. He held me when my days were too hard, and he made jokes when I felt like breaking. But even he was tired. We were both drowning in the same ocean of poverty. We shared a small room, shared cheap dinners, shared dreams that felt too big for our wallets. Some nights we lay awake and talked about the future we wanted. A small house with sunlight coming through clean windows, a used car that didn't break down, and a life where we didn't have to count every coin. Marcus would say, "One day, baby, we'll have more than this." And for a moment, I believed him. I was not evil. I did not want to hurt anyone. I only wanted a chance, a break, a moment where life stopped pushing me down. I was tired of waiting for my turn, tired of working without reward, tired of seeing others rise while I stayed trapped. So, I thought a promotion would change everything. But life had other plans for me. His name was Mr. Adrian Grant, and everyone in the company feared him. I feared him too. The first time I walked into his office, I felt like I had entered another world. A world I did not belong to. His office was bigger than my entire apartment. The walls were covered with tall glass windows showing the whole city. The furniture was dark, expensive, and cold, like everything else about him. Mr. Grant always wore perfect suits. Sharp, clean lines, the kind that looked like they cost more than my yearly salary. His shoes never had dust on them. His hair was always styled. But the thing that shook me most were his eyes. Cold, gray, and hard. They didn't just watch people, they judged them. Every time those eyes landed on me, I felt smaller, like they could see the gap between his world and mine. He talked in a way that made people shrink. He didn't yell. He didn't need to. His words were sharp enough to cut anyone down. If a worker made a small mistake, he didn't correct them, he destroyed them. "You call this a report? This is amateur work. If this is the best you can do, maybe you don't belong here." No one dared argue. We all nodded, apologized, and tried not to breathe too loudly. There were quiet signs about him too. Signs most people ignored, but I noticed. The way he stared at male workers a second too long. The way his voice softened just a little when he spoke to a handsome client. The way he never talked about women, only past relationships. Then there was the office gossip. People said he had been married once, to a man. A rich, older man who left him after a stormy divorce. Some said Mr. Grant never trusted anyone again after that. Some said he built his walls so high that no one could ever climb them. Some said he was strong. Others said he was broken. I didn't know which one was true. Maybe all of them. Every time I walked into his office, my heart beat too fast. I felt like a child standing in front of a king who could crush me with a single sentence. But at the same time, I noticed something else too. Something hidden behind the expensive suit and the cold eyes. Loneliness. He sat in that giant office every day, eating alone, drinking alone, working alone. His wealth filled the room, but his heart stayed empty. And as the days passed, I felt a strange thought growing inside me. He was rude, but he was also alone. One afternoon, after weeks of building up courage, I asked for a promotion. I stood in front of his desk, hands shaking, trying to look confident. "Mr. Grant, I've been working hard. I think I'm ready for a bigger role." He looked up slowly, one eyebrow raised. "You?" he said, sounding almost amused. "You think you're ready?" I nodded. "Yes, sir. I believe I've earned." He cut me off with a small laugh. "Cold one. Liam, Don't fool yourself. You're replaceable. Anyone can do what you do. His words hit me like a punch. Replaceable. Just like that. My dreams crushed with a single sentence. I walked out of his office feeling like the ground under me had disappeared. All the extra hours, all the effort, all the hope, gone. By the time I reached home, anger had mixed with shame. I felt worthless, like I was stuck at the bottom of a ladder no one would ever let me climb. Later that night, as I walked past the company building, its tall lights shining like a giant's shadow, I felt something burning inside me. I stopped, looked up at the windows, and whispered to myself, one day, this life will be mine, not his. After that first rejection, I told myself not to give up. I thought that if I worked harder, if I proved myself again and again, maybe Mr. Grant would finally see my worth. So I pushed myself even more. I arrived before sunrise, stayed after the building emptied, and handled tasks no one else wanted. I kept believing that effort would change everything. I kept hoping my life would finally turn. One morning, I brought him a folder filled with new ideas for improving the department. I spent days working on it, writing every page with hope. I thought maybe, just maybe, he would look at me differently. I stepped into his office with a small smile. Sir, I prepared some plans. They could help increase efficiency. He took the folder without even looking at my face. His eyes went straight to the papers. He flipped through the pages fast like he was checking a grocery list. Then he closed the folder and set it on his desk. These are fine, he said flatly. I'll use them. For a second, my heart lifted. But then he added, next time, bring something better. This looks like beginner work. The words stung. He took my ideas, accepted my work, but still treated me like nothing, like trash, like a tool he could use and then toss aside. I walked out of his office feeling smaller than ever. No matter what I did, I was stuck at the bottom. It didn't matter how smart I was, or how hard I tried. To him, I was just the poor assistant, easy to control, easy to replace. Little by little, a cold truth began to grow inside me. I would never move up in his world. Not as long as I stayed the person he believed I was. When I got home that night, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed and broke down. My chest hurt. My eyes burned. I felt like all my dreams had been thrown into a fire. Marcus came over quickly. He knelt in front of me and touched my shaking hands. What happened? He asked softly. I tried to speak, but only tears came out at first. Finally, with a broken voice, I whispered, I feel like a slave. Like no matter what I do, I'll always stay nothing. Marcus pulled me into his arms. For a moment, he held me tightly, letting me cry into his shoulder. But then his voice changed. It became steady, serious. Liam, we can't live like this forever. This pain, it's killing you. It's killing us. We need a real plan. I wiped my eyes and looked at him. What kind of plan? He sighed, thinking. We keep hoping life will get better on its own, but it never does. Hard work isn't enough. Being good isn't enough. Life doesn't reward honesty. It rewards power. I shook my head. I don't want to become someone I'm not. He looked at me with tired eyes. And I don't want us to stay broke forever. His words hit me hard. We loved each other, but we loved the idea of a better life too. The tension grew between us. Love versus money, morals versus survival. Then Marcus said something I never expected. Your boss is rich, lonely, and he likes men. You know it. Everyone knows it. And honestly, he doesn't deserve all that money. He doesn't deserve that life. I stared at him, shocked. But inside me, something shifted. A strange thought, a dangerous one, whispered in the back of my mind. A thought I should have pushed away. A thought that tasted like power. When Marcus saw the look on my face, he didn't back down. He has everything. We have nothing. Why shouldn't we take what he doesn't even value? That night, when the lights went out and the city grew quiet, I lay awake with my eyes wide open. A door inside me had opened, and what walked in was not love. It was hunger. The night after our fight, Marcus and I sat at the small table in our room. The light was dim, the air heavy. Felt like the world had paused, waiting to hear what we would decide. Marcus looked calm, almost too calm. I felt the storm inside me, but he looked like someone who had already accepted the future. He started speaking before I did. Liam, listen. If your boss wants to treat you like nothing, then fine. Let him think that. But you can turn it into something. You can make him trust you. Make him depend on you. I stared at him. Trust me? Why would he? Marcus leaned forward. Because he's lonely. Because he stares at you more than he should. Because he has no one. And because you have the one thing he wants, your attention. The idea made my stomach twist. You're talking about using his heart. Yes, Marcus said quietly. We use what he gives. You don't have to force anything. Just let him believe you care. I looked down at my hands. They were shaking. I didn't know if it was fear or guilt. Marcus continued. You become his favorite person at the office. You talk to him more. You look at him in a way he's not used to. You make him trust you with little things first, projects, secrets, late-night talks. And slowly, he'll open the door to bigger things. His voice was steady, but I could hear the edge beneath it. He will hand his life to you, Liam. People like him always do when someone finally treats them with kindness. I swallowed hard. Marcus, this feels wrong. He took my hands, holding them tight. What's wrong is us living like this. What's wrong is you giving everything and getting nothing. What's wrong is watching you break every night because he refuses to see your value. His words hit deep. They hurt because they were true. Still, there was a part of me that fought back. I kept asking myself, is this love? Is this survival? Or am I becoming the monster I hate? Marcus shook his head slowly. You're not a monster. You're hungry. We both are. And you're not stealing from a good man. He's rude, selfish, and he doesn't care about anyone. Why should he have everything while we have nothing? I could feel my heart pulling in two different directions. One part of me wanted to stay honest, stay clean, stay safe. But the other part, the one shaped by years of poverty, fear, and broken dreams, wanted to rise, wanted to win, wanted to stop begging for the life everyone else seemed to have except me. Marcus touched my cheek gently. We'll be happy after this. Just you and me. No more pain. No more waiting. No more being controlled. We can finally breathe. His voice softened, almost a whisper. You deserve more, Liam. And I want that for you. I closed my eyes, trying to quiet the storm inside me. But the storm didn't go away. It only grew louder. Hope mixed with fear. Desire mixed with guilt. Ambition mixed with something darker. But in the middle of all that noise, one truth stood out. I couldn't survive another year at the bottom. I couldn't survive another day feeling worthless. Slowly, I nodded. Marcus exhaled, relieved. So we start tomorrow. Step by step. Soft smiles. Longer conversations. Little things first. And when he starts trusting you, when he starts needing you, that's when the door will open. I felt my heart thudding as the plan settled into my mind. Not just a plan, path. A dangerous path, but the only one that led away from the life that was crushing me. That night, sleep didn't come. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, knowing everything was about to change. And when the sun finally rose, I stood in front of the mirror, fixed my shirt, and forced a new smile onto my face. The next morning, I walked into that office with a new smile and a dangerous secret. The next day, when I stepped into the office, everything felt different. Not because the building had changed, but because I had. I walked toward Mr. Grant's office with steady steps, reminding myself why I was doing this. I wasn't the scared assistant anymore. I had a plan, and every move mattered. When he looked up from his laptop, I didn't look away like I usually did. Instead, I held his gaze for a second longer than normal. "Good morning, sir," I said, giving him a small warm smile. He blinked, confused. He wasn't used to kindness, especially from me. Throughout the day, I kept my new behavior simple. A little more eye contact. A small laugh at his dry jokes. A soft compliment now and then. "Nice tie today, sir. That watch looks sharp." That presentation you gave yesterday, very strong. At first, his reaction was strange. He stared at me like I was speaking another language. But slowly, something in his face softened. His voice, usually sharp like a blade, became quieter when he spoke to me. Liam, bring me the weekly report. Not barked, not cold, just normal. Then, as days passed, he started calling me into his office more often. Liam, I need your help on something. Can you step inside for a moment? Close the door for privacy. Every time I entered his office, I could feel the air shifting. He no longer looked through me. He was beginning to look at me. Late one evening, we were the last two people left in the building. The office lights were low, the whole floor quiet. I was finishing paperwork when he stepped out of his office with 2 glasses of sparkling water. You look tired, he said. Take a break. It wasn't a command. It was concern. We sat near the windows, drinking in silence at first. The city looked like a field of glowing stars. Then, without warning, he spoke softly. My divorce was difficult. I didn't respond right away. I let him continue, giving him the silence he needed. He left without warning, Mr. Grant said. 10 years together, and still, he walked away like I was nothing. There was no anger in his voice, only pain. I nodded gently. That must have hurt. He stared at the city lights. It made me believe love wasn't real, or at least, not for people like me. For a moment, I felt something stir inside me. Guilt, sympathy, confusion. I wasn't supposed to feel sorry for him, but hearing his voice tremble made me see the man behind the money. A lonely man, a human man, and yet, a quiet part of me felt powerful too. He was opening up to me. He was trusting me, and I knew exactly why I was doing this. Every night at home, Marcus and I talked about the progress. I told him about the softer voice, the longer conversations, the moment near the window. Marcus listened with sharp attention. That's good, he said. He's letting you in. Keep pushing. Make him feel seen. Make him feel safe with you. But I feel weird, I admitted. He's not as heartless as I thought. Marcus didn't blink. Liam, don't get soft. Remember what he did to you. Remember all those days he treated you like dirt. This is not friendship. It's survival. His words snapped the guilt inside me, shaping it back into purpose. So the next day, I kept going, gentle smiles, soft tone, patient listening. And the boss kept responding. Every day a little warmer, a little closer. One Friday evening, after everyone left, I was packing my bag when he called out, Liam. I turned. He was standing in his office doorway, holding his keys. I have a lot of work to finish tonight, he said slowly. Too much for one person. He hesitated just a moment. Would you come to my penthouse to help me? It's easier to work there. The shift was clear. A new stage, a new risk, a new door opening. My heart thudded in my chest. This was exactly what the plan needed. I forced a small, steady smile. Of course, sir. And just like that, the next step began. The moment I stepped into Mr. Grant's penthouse, I understood just how different our worlds were. The place looked like it belonged in a magazine. Wide glass walls showed the whole city glowing below us. Expensive art hung on every wall, paintings with colors so deep they felt alive. Soft music played from hidden speakers, filling the air like a warm blanket. Everything smelled clean, rich, and calm. He moved around the space with quiet confidence, like he owned not just the penthouse but the whole world outside the windows. Make yourself comfortable, he said gently. I nodded, though my heart was beating hard. We sat down in the living room and he poured 2 glasses of wine, real wine, the kind I had only seen in movies. I held mine carefully, afraid I might break the crystal glass. For a long moment we didn't speak. There was only the city lights, the music, and the strange tension between us. Soft, warm, heavy. When he finally looked at me, something in his eyes had changed. Liam, he said quietly, I don't usually invite people here. I kept my face calm. I'm honored, sir. He hesitated, then spoke in a voice I had never heard from him before. Not cold, not rude, just human. I'm attracted to you, he said. I haven't felt this pull toward someone since my divorce. His honesty cut through the room like a slow-moving wave. I felt my stomach twist. This was the moment Marcus and I had talked about. The moment I had feared. I forced a small smile. I didn't know you felt that way. He moved closer, slowly, giving me time to step back. But I didn't. I could have stopped everything. I could have walked out. I could have told the truth. Instead, I remembered the bills, the hunger, the long nights crying, the hopeless days at work. I remembered Marcus's tired smile and our dreams of a better life. And I stepped deeper into the lie. When his hand touched mine, I didn't pull away. He looked at me with a spark of hope, something fragile and real. Are you sure? He asked softly. I nodded, even though my throat felt tight. Yes. He leaned in and the room grew quiet. We didn't speak. We didn't rush. We just crossed the line that had been growing thinner each day. I won't describe what happened. Some things don't need details to have weight. All I will say is this. That night, I let him believe I was his. Later, when the lights were off and he slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling of his huge bedroom. The bed was soft, the blankets warm, but I felt cold inside. My chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped out the center of me and left only the shell. I wasn't proud. I wasn't strong. I wasn't even angry. I was empty. When morning came, I got dressed quietly and left the penthouse. My legs felt heavy, my thoughts even heavier. I didn't feel rich or powerful. I felt like a stranger wearing my own skin. Marcus opened the door when I reached home. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't ask how I felt. He only asked, did it work? I nodded slowly. Yes. He smiled, pleased. But I didn't smile back. Inside my mind, a truth echoed, soft but sharp. My body was with him, but my heart was somewhere between Marcus and the man I was trying to destroy. The weeks that followed felt unreal. Everything happened slowly, then all at once. Mr. Grant began treating me in a way I had never expected. Soft voice, warm glances, small smiles that he saved only for me. It was clear. He was falling deeper, faster, harder. It started with gifts. One morning, there was a new watch waiting on my desk. A simple note lay beside it. For all your hard work, A. Another day he handed me a designer jacket, saying, this would look good on you. He even brought me lunch from expensive places, foods I had only seen in pictures. Then came the invitations. Come with me tonight, he would say. High-class parties, charity events, private dinners. And every time we walked into those rooms, he introduced me the same way. This is Liam, a very special friend. People stared, whispered, nodded. Some looked jealous. Some looked curious. Some looked scared. I didn't know how to feel. At work, everything changed too. He started trusting me with things he had never trusted anyone else with. Private emails, company passwords, confidential files, contracts with signatures worth millions. I became his shadow, his right hand, his whisper, his comfort. Employees noticed. Gossip spread like fire. How did Liam get so close? Is he taking advantage? Why does the boss trust him so much? I walked past the whispers, pretending they didn't cut me. But they did. Every night, I went home and told Marcus how deep I had gotten. He listened closely, eyes sharp, mind focused on the plan. You're doing great, Marcus said. Now you just need to take the final step. We need legal control, property, shares, everything. I swallowed hard. And how do we do that? He trusts you, Marcus said. He'll sign anything you put in front of him. He won't question it. That's how lonely people work. His words felt like stones falling inside my chest. Still, we searched for the safest path. Finally, we found it. Power of attorney. Hidden inside a stack of routine paperwork. A simple signature that would give me access to everything he owned. The plan was clean, sharp, dangerous, but something inside me was changing, and I hated it, because the more time I spent with him, the harder it was to see him as the monster Marcus painted. He wasn't perfect, far from it. He was rude, demanding, and cold to most people. But when the doors closed and the room fell quiet, he spoke like someone who carried too many scars. One night, while we sat on his couch, he talked about his ex again. "He told me I wasn't enough," Mr. Grant said quietly. "That I was too hard, too serious, too controlling. So he left. I guess I'm not someone people stay for." For the first time, I saw the truth behind his money and power. He wasn't just rich. He wasn't just rude. He was lonely, wounded, human, and that scared me more than anything. On the way home, my mind twisted in painful circles. I was supposed to play with his heart, I thought, not feel it. But feelings don't listen to plans. They don't care about strategy. They grow where they shouldn't. When I reached home, Marcus was waiting. Not with softness, with purpose. He sat me down and spoke firmly. "It's time," he said. "No more waiting. We strike this weekend." My stomach dropped. My breath caught. This wasn't a game anymore. This was the point of no return. The night of the signature felt strange the moment I walked into the penthouse. It connected straight back to the night in the Hook. The same city lights, the same calm air, the same quiet music playing in the background. His home looked warm, peaceful, almost romantic. Too romantic for what I had come to do. Mr. Grant greeted me with a soft smile I was never ready for. "Liam, you came," he said, sounding almost relieved. He looked different that night. Not like the cold boss who walked the halls with sharp eyes. He looked warm, relaxed, almost hopeful. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his hair slightly messy, like he had been waiting for me and only me. The room smelled like expensive candles and fresh wine. "Sit with me," he said gently. I sat beside him on the couch, the lights low and golden. For a moment he didn't speak. He just looked at me with eyes that held dreams I didn't deserve. "I've been happy lately," he admitted. "You make things feel lighter." My stomach twisted. This was the worst possible night for him to say something like that. I forced a smile, even though my heart felt like it was breaking in slow motion.
"I'm glad," he whispered.
After a moment, I reached into my bag. I pulled out the papers, hidden between normal folders looking harmless and routine. "Sir, before we relax, I have something important for you to sign," I said, keeping my voice steady. "It's just paperwork to protect the company. Standard stuff." He didn't question it, not even for a second. He trusted me too much. That trust felt like a knife. "Of course," he said. "If you say it's important, I'll sign." He took the pen. My breath caught. His hand moved across the page, slow and sure. Every stroke of the pen felt like a punch to my chest. I watched his signature appear clean, confident, final. And with each line he signed, my heart cracked a little more. This was the moment Marcus and I had planned. The moment that would give us everything. But it didn't feel like a victory. Felt like a funeral. When he finished, he looked up with a soft smile, unaware that he had just handed over his whole life. "All done," he said. Before I could pull the papers away, he set the pen down and reached for me. He wrapped his arms around me and held me close, like I was the only safe place he had left in the world. "Thank you," he whispered against my shoulder. "You're the only one who never leaves." Tears burned behind my eyes. I clenched my jaw to keep them from falling. Because he was wrong. So painfully, tragically wrong. I was going to leave, and I was going to break him when I did. His head rested lightly against my chest, warm and trusting. He sighed softly, like he had finally found peace. But inside me, everything was falling apart. I looked down at him and felt my heart collapse under the weight of what I had done. I had crossed a line I could never uncross. And now both of us would pay for it. When he put his head on my chest, I realized this was not only his last mistake, it was mine too. The days after the signature felt unreal. Everything moved fast, too fast. Marcus and I sat at the small kitchen table every night, going over the papers again and again. We met a lawyer who handled everything quietly. Marcus kept saying the same thing. "We did it, Liam. This is our way out. And he was right. On paper, everything belonged to me now. His properties, his shares, his accounts. The process started, and the world I had dreamed of my whole life was finally close enough to touch. But inside me, nothing felt close to happiness. The first sign that something was wrong came 3 days later. Mr. Grant called me early in the morning. "Liam, are you near the office?" he asked. His voice sounded tight, confused. "Yes, sir. I'm arriving now. I need to talk to you. It's urgent." I felt my chest tighten. This was the moment I'd been afraid of. When I walked into his office, he wasn't sitting behind the desk like usual. He was standing by the window, shoulders tense, hands shaking slightly. When he turned, I could see panic in his eyes. Real panic. "My accounts are blocked," he said slowly. "My access is restricted. My name isn't showing on documents it should. Something is wrong. Very wrong." I felt heat crawl up my neck. "Maybe it's a system error." "Stop." His voice cracked through the room. He stepped closer, eyes burning but wounded. "Did you do this to me?" The words hit harder than a slap. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I wanted to deny it. I wanted to protect him. I wanted to protect myself. But the truth sat between us like a heavy shadow. I can't explain everything," I whispered. His face fell. Completely. Like a man watching his whole world collapse. "I trusted you," he said. "You were the one person I thought wouldn't use me. The one person who stayed." His voice broke. "I loved you, Liam." Hearing that ruined me. This was the man who had once looked at me like I was replaceable, breakable, forgettable. Now he stood in front of me, broken because of me. I wanted to apologize. I wanted to walk back time. I wanted to be anyone except the person I had become. But all I could do was stand there and watch him shatter. "I thought," he whispered, "that maybe I deserved happiness. Maybe you were my second chance." My eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt you. But you did." He looked away, as if looking at me hurt too much. "You became exactly what ruined me the first time." And he was right. When he walked past me and left the office, I felt something inside me break in a way money could never fix. That evening, Marcus was thrilled. "We won," he said, smiling wide. "Everything is changing for us." But his joy didn't reach me. I felt nothing but emptiness. The papers may have given me power, but they took something greater, myself. Late that night, I stared at my reflection in the mirror. I didn't see Liam, the boy with big dreams. I didn't see the poor kid trying to survive. I saw a stranger. Yes, I got what I wanted. Power, money, a way out of poverty. But every time I look in the mirror, I see a man who sold his soul for a better view. I took a deep breath and looked straight into my own eyes. "Tell me, if you were me, would you call this justice? Or just another kind of hell?"